Seeing that it's 7 p.m., we'll call the meeting to order. And if Michelle could please read the sunshine law.
Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards, filed with the Borough Clerk, and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, the Star Ledger, and the Two River Times.
Thank you. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cooper.
Here.
Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Here.
Councilmember Good.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco. Councilmember Sheridan.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here. As a courtesy to those around you, if you could please silence your cell phones, and if you could all please rise for the pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please remain standing for a moment of silence. Tonight's moment of silence will be dedicated to Black History Month. Thank you. Tonight we're going to begin the council meeting with a proclamation. Prior to reading the proclamation and taking a photo, it should be noted that we, as a full council, as well as the county and representatives of the state and women's organizations, have been honoring and recognizing the women's suffrage 100th year anniversary commemoration. There's going to be celebrations throughout the county and state for the rest of 2020. Tonight we'll be reading a proclamation. The county has asked all 53 municipalities in Monmouth County to adopt a resolution honoring the women's suffrage movement. So we will be sending them a copy of our efforts also. They also asked if we could recognize the reading of any resolution or proclamation in this topic by having yellow roses present. Instead of getting corsages for everyone on the dais, I ordered a dozen roses, so anyone that would like to take a rose home tonight to take one from the vase as you exit this evening. It's also sidebar note that it was back in 1913 that the National Women's Party adopted the set of 3 colors to recognize the movement, which were purple, white, and gold and yellow. So hence the colors of the and the flags and the ribbon. Commemorating the centennial of ratification of the 19th Amendment. Whereas the year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment in the United States Constitution. Whereas women fought for the right to vote for more than a century and persevered in the face of resistance. Whereas many New Jersey women advocated for the right to vote. Whereas Monmouth County was the home to many suffragists, both male and female, and suffrage rallies and events occurred within Monmouth County borders. Whereas February 9th, 2020 will mark the centennial of the New Jersey ratification of the 19th Amendment. And whereas August 26th, 2020 will mark the nationwide centennial of the 19th Amendment, officially becoming part of the United States Constitution after the required number of states have ratified. Whereas daughters and granddaughters and great-granddaughters of the women who fought so hard to vote have been making their voices heard at the polls for nearly 100 years. Whereas women are running for office and currently in elected office in large numbers in Monmouth County, following the footsteps of these great suffragists. Whereas there are currently over 200,000 women registered to vote in Monmouth County. Whereas all government entities on the local, state, and national level should commemorate and recognize this historic milestone and reaffirm its commitment to empowering and uplifting the voices of women. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, do hereby celebrate and recognize the 100th anniversary of the passage and ratification of the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution, providing for women's suffrage. Be it further proclaimed, we honor the role of the ratification of the 19th Amendment in promoting the core values of our democracy as set forth in the Constitution of the United States. And be it finally proclaimed, we affirm our desire to continue strengthening democratic partisanship and to inspire future generations to cherish and preserve the historic precedent established by the 19th Amendment. If we can just go down for the ballot. The county has asked for a photo with the proclamation with all governing body members.
Come on, you right side, yeah.
Come on down. I
Come on, you go ahead. We're like the darn, the Fraternity.
Do you want the proclamation or the flowers? Which of the other things I have for you?
Right there, I think. Vicky.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you turn my logo, or on the guest? There's a little box in the
Just one chair, okay. Give it room to, spread out.
Okay. Mr. Henshaw, do you have an administrative report this evening?
That was me, I guess.
Okay, we will move on to just another reminder, if everyone, when you're speaking, if you could please speak into the microphone so that both the audience can hear you as well as the recording devices. On to the mayor's report. I attended the following meetings: the Senior Disabled Bus meeting with Councilman Sheridan and Councilman Cooper to identify different ways to increase ridership. I attended the Unified Planning Board reorganization meeting, had a meeting with board members of KBBC and the executive board members of the Art Society of Keyport. Attended the first Bay Shore Mayors meeting of 2020, where several new mayors and business administrators were introduced from the Bay Shore area. Worked with Michelle Clark on proclamations and awards for our Fireman's Ball, as well as this evening's meeting. Now I'd just like to take a moment, as we are getting things underway for 2020, we enter the budget preparation season. I would like to express the importance of many outstanding but very important topics that should be taken serious consideration when allocating funds in this year's budget. Some of these topics include our Department of Public Works, especially the lack of manpower and comparable salaries, as well as necessary equipment upgrades. I believe there should be a full-time person allocated to utilizing the vacuum machine on a regular basis, as well as the street sweeper. We have a schedule posted online that has not been adhered to for a few years with the street sweeper. Evaluations of the conditions of the park should also be taken into consideration for equipment, maintenance, and so forth. Our Keyport Police Department also could be at a shortage of staffing if members decided to retire. I suggested back in December to the police commissioner and police captain that a comparison be done according to our current numbers versus what the current ordinance allows for, and to submit necessary increases to the ordinance revision request if additional lines are needed to account for attrition and retirements. Our senior disabled bus that we received as a grant has been in the borough since May of 2019. The borough has been unsuccessful at producing the original scheduled ridership, both because of lack of advertisement and assistance from the borough, as well as low-paying rates for the drivers. While the furniture in this room here tonight definitely needs to be changed and cleaned, I have more serious concerns over what can be considered deplorable working conditions for employees in 3 of our municipal buildings. It was brought to my attention in the last quarter of 2019 that the ceilings in the police department continually leak. So much so that there are tarps serving as permanent ceilings and buckets set up to catch the rainfall. The same is true for our senior center, and there are additional building concerns in the library. While we have great DPW staff, this shouldn't be falling on them all the time to make these kinds of major and necessary repairs. We owe it to our employees to have better work conditions and to provide a much better and safer atmospheres to serve our constituents. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Resolution 7620 is the payment of bills. Resolution 7720 commemorating the centennial of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Resolution 7820 authorizes an agreement with Realty Data Systems LLC for real property data collection and verification services. Resolution 7920 authorizes change order number 1 for contractor Underground Utilities Corporation performing the 2019 road improvement program. Resolution 8020 authorizes the Borough of Keyport to enter into a shared services agreement with the Township of Lakewood for large vehicle washing services. Resolution 8120 authorizes the hiring of Lisa Rebello as a part-time clerk in the Tax Water Sewer Finance Office. And Resolution 8220 authorizes the hiring of Deneen Reiner as a part-time clerk in the Construction Department.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone from the dais have any questions before we open to the public?
I do, Madam Mayor. With regard to 8020, the shared service agreement with the Township of Lakewood.
Yeah.
Is there nowhere closer than Lakewood to have these vehicles washed?
At the leadership of the liaison for the senior bus, it's been about a 5-month request from previous staff members to find the location to have the bus washed.
We've looked,
So we would have loved to found somewhere closer, so no, we could
There
not
is
find
no
anywhere.
place within 35 miles of here. We're gonna spend more money driving it down and back than you are for the $46 that we're gonna have to wash it.
We can certainly table this if you would like to do the research, but I believe Councilman Sheridan's been asking for someone, as well as the riders of the bus have been asking for it to get cleaned.
Well, I'm not saying that it shouldn't get cleaned. Joe, is no place other than 35 miles? Or if you tell me, yeah, we've looked, there's no place, then fine.
we've looked, we've tried the bus stations near us. We've asked New Jersey Transit if they have any recommendations. They do not.
What does it take? Maybe I just misunderstood.
Water, a little bit of soap.
No, I know.
Maybe a sponge.
Maybe like a ladder or something? But
You
what's
could do it as a team building exercise if you want.
But what's the, we need such a large,
Does it require commercial status? Is that what the washing utility needs to have?
Well, it needs to be able to put the
Yeah,
bus
it just needs to wash the salt off it in the winter, twice a month. That's what we're trying to do. Right now, we're leasing the bus, it's not ours, so we have to take good care of it. We just don't have anywhere close. The prior business administrator wasn't able to do it. This business administrator found somebody that happened to be down in Lakewood, and,
Prior administrator wasn't able to do it, he was asked?
yeah,
Yes.
that's correct.
we need a large vehicle washing service. So where's,
Only twice a month.
I'm just asking if there's anywhere closer. If the answer is no, then okay, accept it.
This is not a binding contract either, so if there is somewhere that's identified closer, we can always try that one out as well.
Again, if you're saying there's no place closer, then okay. That's all I was asking. That's all
Anyone
I
else
have.
have any questions? Can I have a motion open to the public?
Move it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on the consent agenda? Mr. Kelly.
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. First, I want to say I agree with what the mayor said about the working conditions and the conditions of the building. That's very important. And there's a very large maintenance problem generally in Keyport. We just don't keep up with things. That's really got to be taken care of. You know, if we want to move forward and be a town that shines, you know, even inside where everybody works, that's very important. Onto the large vehicle washing service. Was the cost, the total cost of driving down there and coming back figured out for this, for
No.
each? Okay. Do we have a general idea of like an hourly rate of paying a driver or?
Right now, the hourly rate for the driver is $17.
I'm just trying to get an idea of what the cost is.
Understood.
I'll think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Knox? Reminder that these topics are about the consent agenda only at this point.
Yes, hi, I live at 23 Pine Street. I drive by a big truck wash coming from the Driscoll Bridge every day, in Sayreville, I think it might be.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, that is significantly closer. I would say that it's a 15-minute drive. It's, on the southbound side of Highway 35, I believe that is Sayreville, and it's like there's a whole truck complex there. The only landmark I know is the burnt down strip club for reference. So it's right near there. Yeah, it's right near there. And also with the conditions of the working condition, I know that there's been some talk about the NPP grant, which I don't know the whole acronym, Neighborhood Protection or Project Focus.
Reservation.
Right. I might suggest that maybe funds from that could also improve those buildings because they are inside the district that you're referring to. So I'm just kind of bringing that to your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Baloo?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. Baloo.
I'll start off with the microphones. I have a copy of last time we had a meeting here. I'd like to give it to you guys. Listen to it. You'll find it very interesting. It's very hard to understand. I'll give it to Tom.
I've listened to it 3
All
times
right.
already.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You're talking about washing just a bus, is that what you're talking, or
Yes.
all the vehicles? Where are the vehicles being washed now? All
Premium.
police cars and
Platinum.
everything? Excuse me?
Platinum?
Platinum? You know,
First Aid Squad washes its own.
we have quite a few trucks, and we have the guy
Fire
come down.
trucks are washed by themselves too.
Excuse me?
The fire department washes their fire trucks as well.
Yes, that's a different story, the fire company. You gotta look beautiful for fire company. We have quite a few trucks. We hire a guy, he comes down, washes the trucks, whatever. You don't need a contract with him, he comes down, cleans your vehicles.
Are you talking about your business personally? When you're saying we, I'm just confirming who you mean by we.
Our company,
Got it, okay.
okay. And they clean under the buses, you know, for that stuff that they put on now, because it's pretty bad stuff.
It is. Mhm.
They clean the outside, whatever you want. So you might wanna look into that. If you want, I'll give you the number for it. The guy comes down, no bus, no bus, he does it right wherever you want him to do it. You don't have to take the bus
Great.
or cars or anything, you know, they do a good job.
That would be great if you could pass that on, thank you.
Excuse me?
If you could pass that information on, that would be
I
great.
will.
Thank you.
Get the copy of the tape. Mayor, we had talked about the signs in the back, and I think we had changed a few of them. I still don't think they're right. So, I mean, if you want, I'd like to go with you.
Sure.
And I can point it out to you.
Sure.
Maybe you guys see something different than I see. I mean,
Sure.
I'm here all my life, and I know what belongs to you, and I don't know what belongs to other people, but we have quite a few parking places down there that still could be utilized that are not signed properly.
Okay.
All right, so I'd like to do that with whoever's in charge of that,
I
Public Works.
Definitely welcome that opportunity, then I can relay the message on to the correct group.
Okay, and one other quick question, so,
These are about the consent agenda?
excuse me,
Are these about the consent agenda?
I can barely hear you.
Are these about the consent agenda? I
No.
just gave you one pass on.
No,
on
no, but
consent
I wanna
agenda
go home
items.
and watch the president tonight, so I can just get this. And I know
Well,
everybody.
That's a quick agenda, I think we could get this done, so.
Mr. Gallo, before he left, said the water plant would be up and running. And I just wanna throw this out plain. And, you know, we're gonna save a lot of money, we're gonna use the water, all year long. Is that still true? that we're gonna use water all year long, or are we going back to 2 months a year and shutting it down after we spent a couple more $1 million in this water plant that,
We are, still waiting for the finalized, CO punch list to be completed on that project. But there was, a little bit of a setback, on the project site. So, but I believe that is the ultimate goal.
okay, just,
They've applied for more water allocation, so we're waiting to hear back.
the allegation would be for,
Allocation.
for the whole year?
Yeah.
Or are we going
Yes.
back to 2 months?
No,
No.
yes, whole year.
Yeah,
I hold you to this, Matt.
I can't answer for the state, though.
I wanna see us use our water. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham? Welcome back.
Thank you. Happy
Good
to
see
be
you,
back.
Alan.
Good to see you.
Councilman Sheridan, was glad to see you're better from your elbows
Thank
there.
you.
Thank you. Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. First of all, Mr. Henshaw, welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your temporary appointment so far as
Thank you.
borough administrator. I'll ask more about that later, but anyway. Few things here. On Resolution 7820, with the agreement with Reality Data Systems, can you all explain that?
The people who do the inspections for our tax assessor do it on a 5-year period. We need an outside company to come in, excuse me, to come in and go by the houses on the 20% per year and look them over and report back to our tax assessor about whether or not the facts on the property record are correct.
Okay, fair enough. What about Resolution 7920? Can you all explain that one?
So I did review the proposed change order. I can tell you that, one, it doesn't affect the cost of any of the overall. No cost change. No cost change order.
Okay.
My understanding was that, yeah.
As they were digging up over on East Third Street,
They found-
some utilities were, ended up crossed. They discovered unusual items, so they had to move it around.
Okay, fair enough. And one more thing on Resolution 8020. I definitely agree with Mr. Baloo there. His suggestions are good ideas and stuff like that, and I suggest that you follow them.
Great.
After all, he is a businessman, and private businesses, well, sometimes government is best run when business has a role in it, so.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Good evening.
I'll just echo what's been said about the bus washing. We have a number of locations in town where school buses are kept. And my perception is those buses are all very clean. So they must have some washing arrangement for those school buses. There's one off of Clark Street, there's one at Route 35 and Main Street, and the buses sparkle. So I recommend that you not approve this resolution tonight and do some more homework. Second resolution, 78-20, for the reappraisal. Is this the 5-year contract or continuation of the existing 5-year contract?
It's a new 5-year contract.
A new 5-year contract,
Well, it's a new 3-year contract.
Sorry, 3-year contract with options for renewal.
up and renewal. And my perception, and I've shared it with you before, is the last couple of years, Realty Appraisal, we paid them, but they didn't put much effort into the appraisals. The First Street area along the waterfront got appraised last year. I talked to half a dozen neighbors. They didn't even bother to come in the house. They came to the front door, have you made any changes in your house? No, we're done, bye. We're paying for that. Is there any statement of work as to what Realty Appraisal is gonna have to do in terms of percentage of homes that they inspect in the section of town they're supposed to inspect, and what level of inspection they do? And I ask this especially in light of their demonstrated lack in the last year. Pardon?
I said, okay, thank you.
Is that, yes, we have a,
I will defer that to the dais when we're ready to make a vote if they have any further questions.
so we have no statement of work in terms of the percentage of homes in the district that they have to inspect? No definition of what involved in an inspection?
I will ask the dais when we're ready to vote on that, if they feel comfortable with the contract that they're voting on.
Well, I'm asking what's in it. I'm not asking whether you're comfortable, I'm asking, is there a statement of work, is there a requirement on the percentage of homes to be inspected?
No.
No. So, we're not learning from last year's experience. The Borough Administrator's report. Tom, I know you're new, but I'm gonna ask the Borough Administrator for the last year, every report covered status of the flood damage prevention ordinance. What's the status of it?
Nothing has changed since our last meeting. It has not been forgotten about.
But there was no information at the last meeting. So what's the status? When is it gonna be?
When it is.
All right, Matt, that's not an appropriate answer.
Well,
It has not been forgotten about, and we will get it back on track.
All right, I'll just share with you one other thing. One of the statements that was made at the last meeting is that the council writes all the ordinances. Well, I'll just remind you, the zoning ordinance was written by a set of residents. The master plan was written by a community of about 70 residents. The site plan subdivision ordinance was written by the residents. The council introduced and adopted those ordinances. And a lot of people put a lot of work into the flood damage prevention ordinance. Also, the TAP, Pedestrian Safety Improvement Program, repeatedly said we were gonna have a public workshop. I haven't heard any definition of when that might be occurring. Really think the administrator's report needs to cover these items. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to come forward? Have a motion to close to the public?
Move it.
All in favor? Any further discussion from the dais before we go to vote on the consent agenda items?
Hey, Mayor, I'd like to pull, resolution 80-20.
Okay, and I get a motion to pull 80-20.
Did you say pull or poll?
Pull.
You did motion,
Yeah.
Second.
Because it's, it's because it was way sounds cheaper.
All in favor
Aye.
of pulling 80-20? We'll need a motion to approve consent agenda items 76 through 82 with the exception of 80-20.
Motion.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Patopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
yes.
and Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
Thank you. We have communications by consent, items 1 through 6, and to receive and file, for approval, items 1 through 6, and to receive and file 7 and 8. Any discussion on the dates?
Yeah, I have a correction to number 5. Based on a conversation I had with Ms. Knox, remove "and stage" from that communication. They don't need the stage.
Anyone else have any commentary on communications? Have a motion open to the public for communications by consent.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to comment about communications? Mr. Lane? Please remember to keep it to communications this time.
I will just be addressing communication items.
Thank you.
Has the council received any communications regarding the fact that the application from Wayne Fence Co. has been resubmitted for the gas pipeline across Raritan Bay? And have you received any communications on that subject?
Not that I'm aware.
And is the Bay Shore Council of Mayors, have they received any communication?
We had a meeting on Friday night, and this did not come up as a conversation.
I will document to the council the fact that it's resubmitted and there's only like 30 days to comment. And this is critical for our bay. And is there any new communications that you received? You know, the governor said we really got to start planning for climate change in our zoning ordinances, our flood damage prevention ordinance, and our development plans. Have you received any communications on the latest Rutgers study that indicates that we've had 8.2 inches of sea level rise just since 1970? And there was substantially more since 1910, well over a foot. And the fact that in New Jersey, what's really interesting.
Mr. Lane, these items are not on the communication list.
Well, that's my concern, is they're not, that you didn't get this communications, and you're running the borough.
Okay. But that's
so
not
I
where
wanna
we're
make
at the motto, that's not where we're at the point of agenda. You can bring these up during an open
I want to make
public
the
meeting.
borough aware of the need to have this
No one
communication.
is gonna shut you down, Michael, in the regular, Mr. Lane, in the regular public portion.
We're talking about communications.
We're talking about the communications that are on the agenda, that were posted to the public if they have questions.
There's important communications for this town that you're not receiving, you're not dealing with.
I'm not saying that they're not important, I'm not saying we don't wanna receive them, Mike, but there's a proper protocol of when that should be discussed.
Well, when I send them to you, you don't list them on the
They
communications.
do not need to be listed on the communications. Those are two totally different topics, Mr. Lane.
They're critical to the borough. They need to be listed in the communications.
Mayor,
And
Mayor, I want to clarify, there is no requirement that this governing body address every specific communication that is submitted to it. There is no requirement that it be listed as part of the agenda. I just know that historically that's been the case. But there is no compelling basis to have to do it. But again, this board is free to sort of operate its species as it wishes.
thank you.
It's also not required to have a public session for each part either, but I choose to keep that. Anyone else in the public? Ms. Knox?
Oh, let me just mention, the sea level rise rate along the Jersey Shore is twice that of the global sea level rise. And the Rutgers study points out very clearly why that is true.
Ms. Knox?
Hi, me again from 23 Pine Street. I just want to clarify item 6, that the application of use near the beach park for the Art Society Community Labyrinth project is not just for those 2 specific days. Those are 2 options. The 18th probably is more preferable because the 25th is also the community day for the borough, but the two events don't necessarily conflict, just maybe dividing the public. The bigger question with that is, do we have the permission to host a community event on one of those 2 days for the project to be up there until we kind of meet and decide the length of that project, so that the project will not be installed for a singular day and then taken down in that day? We would need to decide, is it gonna be there for a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, those kind of things. So just wanna be clear that I'm requesting application for that use indefinitely until we all decide collectively when we wanna terminate that project. Those 2 dates are strictly for the community involvement day, to actually build the
You won't need
project.
First Street closed, right? Maybe
No,
just
we
a
don't
couple
need-
spaces in the parking lot, correct? Maybe
We
not
don't need
even-
anything closed, yeah, we're just gonna, people can park wherever they wanna park. There's obviously the boat ramp. Most people, I'm assuming, that will live in town, so I know.
This is
in
more
April-
just so you can publicize something on a public property that's gonna be taken.
Correct, and that we will have permission from the borough to install this art project in that public space. Those 2 dates are specifically dates kind of separate to the project to have the community come together. So really the request is, do we have permission to use that space, and have a community event on either of those 2 days, just to be clear.
We can even list them if you prefer it as rain dates, if you wanted to, when you do your
Right,
communications.
right.
That's,
gonna ask
that's true,
that.
yeah.
There's a rain date.
And
Right.
then, I mean, the further, I think April is a better choice, because as the weather warms up, the boat ramp is gonna be busier and busier, so,
Right, and again,
it'd be nice
because-
if it's completed for boating season, so that would be nice. And
Yeah.
then with that application, did you, submit, insurance at all?
I did, yes, but our insurance expires, I think, on April 15th, so we'll have to renew it and submit that before the actual event date, which will be no problem. And it's trying to be an Earth Day celebration, so that's why we picked those 2 weekends. We invited the Environmental Commission, I believe is the correct term, to help us participate in that, so we can kind of do a town-wide Earth Day art making event. So that's, I just wanted to clarify those details.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we can bring recycling in too, and people can bring recycling
Well.
recycled paintbrushes.
I will, yeah, you can do whatever you want with that, but one of the project ideas is to excavate the bricks that are littering the beach down near Arrow Marine as a component to this project. So, and actually utilize them for the installation of this project. And I do have a couple, images of that, but basically, you know, instead of using the stones, we would kind of harvest, or I should say beach clean up those elements. So we're kind of doing a twofold thing. We would clean up the beach, have a community day, take that refuge that was historical. I believe there was a shipwreck and the brickyard, or kind of these
That's
other
the rumor.
components. What's that?
It's the rumor.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the rumor. So it could add in kind of that historical tie into a community day event and repurpose garbage and make it into art.
I just received emails today, I haven't opened it yet, about the dates for Beach Street this year, and usually it's the third, it's usually the Saturday closest to Earth Day.
Right.
So, but then it depends on holidays and so forth, so I can, let you know when that is. too.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take away from that event because I live on that beach and it definitely needs to be cleaned regularly anyway. But this could be an addition to that. You know, we will have to discuss some logistics. So I kind of propose that somebody on the council becomes a connection for the Art Society. We can hammer out a little bit of these details, not necessarily a public forum, but you know, we would need to move the bricks. We need to clean them. We need to dry them so people can actually paint on them. So there's a little bit of logistical work to be done, but it's all doable, I think.
But the Art Society is gonna be moving them, not the borough, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, the Art Society would handle it. We're put a call for volunteers,
Right,
you know.
sure.
I mean, if you want to donate a truck to help us, you can totally do that. Besides that, I think we're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else in the public wish to come forward? Have a motion to close the public?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion on communication pieces? Having a motion to approve and receipt, file for approval and receiving files.
Motion.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes, I'll abstain from 5 and 6.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Sheridan,
Yes, and did we read 7 and 8? I'm not sure if we read them.
We did not read them.
We didn't read the others, did we?
No.
No.
We haven't been.
Okay.
Yes. Now, if we can open to the public comment section, if we can, open by live, new business. I lied. Sorry about that. First, I know we're gonna go out of order, but I believe there's someone here about the scening.
Hi, that would be me.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Joe Reynolds, and I'm president of Save Coastal Wildlife, a fairly new nonprofit. And we're formerly the Bayshore Regional Watershed Council, which has been around for about 20 years. And our nonprofit is designed to educate people about coastal wildlife along the Jersey Shore. And one thing we'd like to do is to have a seining program here in Keyport. We're partnering with the Environmental Commission here in Keyport, and we'd like to do a public seining event during the summertime in June, July, and August. And I'm just here to work on dates to make sure that the town can approve the dates for us to do seining. So I have some dates already. We were thinking about doing Thursday.
What's the time frame of that?
It'd be an hour.
I know, like, the hour, time of the day.
Oh, it'd be after work, so 6, 7 o'clock, somewhere around there, 7 to 8, 6
So
to 7.
A couple of dates that were suggested when we received your email.
Okay.
There's going to be main events going on in town tonight, so I just want to bring that to your attention. One of them is, I believe, June 18th was one of the proposed dates that you had mentioned, and that's going to potentially be one of KBBC's bigger events, as well as potentially the Art Society events. So we're still finalizing those details, but I don't know if that would, deter people from showing up to yours, because they're gonna be at the car show and the art walk, potentially. I think the July date is the car show. So is there a possibility we can maybe pick different Thursdays?
We can pick different
or
dates. We were
a
thinking about
different
doing
day?
it at
A different
Cedar
day?
Street, at Cedar Street Park.
My fear is that your participation might be low, because people may be at these other events. So I would love to have a great participation effort for your cause.
Okay,
So it's not about too many things going on at the same time, it's about how can people really physically divide themselves
Okay.
in many places.
sure, we can work on dates, that's fine,
Um,
absolutely.
But we needed to know the council's pleasure as whether, this was an initiative that everyone would support before we finalized the, so that's why it's under new business, and it arrived, after the agenda was closed, but we didn't wanna wait so that we can at least have communication with them, if everyone was in favor of further communication.
Does everybody know what seining is?
I was gonna ask that question. And then the second point was that Thursdays and Fridays in town in the summer, the rec committee also does like movie Fridays. So
Right.
Thursday and Friday nights are probably not gonna be your best night to do these.
Well, we were discussing about actually tailing from those, so I don't know what time you do movie nights.
So
What time does that start?
the music, all the music stuff, usually, both movies and stuff will be like between 6 and 8 or sundown, whatever, so.
So we were
So if
looking
you
to
do
do
it
it,
like 4 to 6 or something.
yeah,
I
we were
don't know.
looking to do it some point like before, or, you know, right before the movie begins or something like that.
Yeah.
So people, you know, can
Movie
come here for
parts
dinner and, you know, participate in a number of different events, so.
That's on Fridays if you do movies.
Yeah, Thursdays or Fridays, whatever works best.
In the environmental commission meeting, we did, by the way, do you want to tell us what seining is?
Yeah.
Sure, so seining, you take it's not named after the river in France. I'll start off with that.
Spelled like it.
So, yeah, it's spelled same. But anyway, so it's just taking a long net. We have a 50-foot net with 2 poles, person either end, and you just drag the net through the shallow part of the bay. And you see what lives in the shallow part of the bay, and you explain to people, you know, the fish and the crabs that live there. A lot of people don't realize there is just a wide diversity of sea life that lives in Raritan Bay and Sandy Hook Bay. They just think it's gulls and jellyfish and things like that. So we just really want to educate people about the diversity that lives in the waters. We think Keyport's just an important town, has a good location in the bay. There is a lot of wildlife. We've seen these waters before. There is a good amount of wildlife that lives off the coast of Keyport, and really just want to educate people about what does live off the coast.
Previously, sorry, Councilman.
No, that's okay. Do you want to speak up?
I was just saying that, the Baykeeper used to host kayak, Wednesdays,
Yes.
or kayak Thursdays, I forget which day it was. But maybe, is it possible to have like consistent weeks instead of like 1 June, 1 July? Like, could we do like all of July on the same night, or do you do this in other municipalities?
The only problem is we're all volunteers,
Right.
so I would have to check with the people who do this to see if they're available as well too. So if you have some dates, I could check with them and we can go that way.
I was just thinking, maybe, for the public, sometimes it's easier when they know, oh, for the month of July, on Wednesdays, we could go down and do steining.
Yeah, we're
As
not
opposed to one
paid
date in
staff.
June and one, you know, it would still be the same amount of time,
Yeah.
but maybe consecutive, so the public would know when.
Right. No, I get your point. I was the person who did kayaking for the Baykeeper. I
Oh,
wear many
okay.
hats.
That's
So I wear hats, I do.
So you're gonna kayaking scene? We could
So
come up with
I
something here,
I do a lot of,
you know?
Ms. Joe will attest, I do a lot of environmental programs.
Mayor?
So, but it's just, we're all volunteers, so it's just difficult for people to get different places. But if you give me some dates, I could check and see.
Before we do that, if it's okay, Mayor? Yeah. The Fridays we had discussed at the Environmental Commission was a supported idea because I think the target audience is young people, correct? And
Well, families.
families, young people, right. And when we brought up the Friday nights and the movie night, it was, you know, it was like a light bulb went off, and we kind of thought that might be a good opportunity for them to transition from the seining event over to the waterfront park for the movie. The movies do start at dusk, which is well after the time that you're going to be doing this event. And we did actually, it's funny that great minds think alike, we did actually talk about having consecutive weeks as well, and the same issue came up with the fact that they are volunteers, and the consecutive Friday nights or Thursday nights might be an issue.
If you were thinking of like June, or like consecutive nights or consecutive Fridays in June or July or August. I mean, let me know what dates you're thinking. I could bring it back to the volunteers that do this and ask them if they're available. So, thanks, Joe.
So is the days okay with Councilman Sheridan and Katopoulos, having further communication, and then the next meeting we can finalize the?
I have another question for you.
Sure.
So,
Find a sweatshirt?
no,
They're available.
so one of the other things we haven't planned it out yet, but we also have a summer camp.
Right.
So I think it would be a good opportunity if you happen to be up. Again, logistics and all that. But I think that'd be a good fun trip for the kids to also learn about that during the summer camp.
Sure, I mean, we would love to participate.
That's during the day after.
If you just give me the date, I can
Yeah.
check and see if that's available.
Okay.
Is that during the daytime?
It's a daytime.
It might be a little tricky, but, if you give me the date, we'll check on it. Sure, that'd be great.
Good idea. Okay, so, the councilman will reach back out to you, and you guys
Okay.
can coordinate dates, and then we'll have that on our next agenda.
Okay, great, thank you so much, I appreciate it, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you.
Okay, next, climate polluters press conference request. There was something in your packet that came in. Councilwoman Pacheco met with them, last week. I'm sorry she's not here to discuss it further, because she was really excited about this. So, they would like to hold a press conference here about, paid up climate polluters, with Attorney General Gould, to bring awareness.
What's the fun, do you want some background,
No,
or?
we're passing it down.
Okay.
So, Councilman Pacheco and I had emailed back and forth, in the middle of last week. Instead of waiting until the February 18th meeting, I did, approve for this to be bumped up to tonight's meeting to at least be discussed under new business. If you guys aren't comfortable with voting on something, we can vote on it next meeting, but I felt like dialogue should take place so that this organization should know if they could possibly begin, moving forward to conduct this press conference. They need 2 locations. One would be council chambers. The date of the event would be February 26th, and their outdoor location would be Fireman's Lot.
Are there any like resources we need, like DPW or police department?
I could ask that, and, I was told that, I did ask if it was rain or shine, and I was told that it was rain or shine. But as far as logistics for security, I don't believe I have that information yet. So I'll leave it up to you. You guys wanna just review this and have it for the next one, or are you guys comfortable with voting on this?
When I read about it, I thought it was a good idea. I like, Keyport doing this, and I just wanted it to be on our agenda so that everybody knew about it, the date, and what it's about. But I'm all for approving this, and I'll make that motion if somebody else doesn't have a question at this time.
Second?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Katopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
and Councilmember Sheridan.
Yes.
So you just have a reminder that we will need their insurance, and, what security detail they will be providing for that date too.
Just for the records, 226, from 10:30 to 12, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Next, we're gonna go into unfinished business. For this evening, our unfinished business is, an update from our fire commissioner regarding his communication with the chief of the fire department regarding the Board of Elections and what their, desire is for us to communicate back to the Board of Elections, and I will send that communication.
Oh, the communication is that the fire companies don't want their houses to be used as polling places. That it's more of a it's more problematic than it's worth the $200 that they get. Nevertheless, I think because of the presidential election this year, It was agreed, discussed, that moving it would be, this year would probably not be a great idea. So,
The chief said that, or you were saying?
I was
I don't
saying
know.
that they agreed,
To keep it this year?
but that we would look for a place next year, 21. With regard to the parking issues at Eagle Hose, actually, I think that that is something that, if, as a council, we can do a temporary parking, either block off or a special there directing traffic for that day. The issue with regard to Consolidated on when somebody got injured, I understand is they walked out a wrong door. So that might, maybe some cones, I think would help.
We could tape off that door, so it's not an option. That's proactive.
That was at Consolidated?
Consolidated, yes.
I'm sorry. So just for my summation,
Across
the
from
one
each
fire, one firehouse is gonna decline for 2021. for the
No.
year.
No. They're preferring that they don't be used in the future, but for this year, they're going to keep it, and then we'll
No, I know,
revisit
I'm getting
for
it.
2021.
Okay, yeah, that's,
But everything's staying the same for this year, but we'll work with the Board of Elections for parking, SLEO, and taking off the door.
Yes, as well as
So
try to
what-
identify, because
Places for next
I don't know what how much lead time they need, the Board of Elections needs to inspect and/or.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them. She said this has to all be certified with the state by April, so that's why I would get back to them.
just my confusion is, are we talking about all firehouses for 2021, or are we talking about the specific firehouse?
Not all firehouses get used.
I'm asking for the clarification of 2021, which, is it specific firehouse, or is it all firehouses?
Actually, I don't,
The firehouses that are used for elections, she's asking, are they
No,
all gonna go away in 2021?
I'll check with, I didn't, speak with,
Lincoln.
Lincoln on the highway, that's
That's Liberty.
Liberty, I'm sorry.
I thought you didn't speak to Lincoln either.
Well, Lincoln's not used.
Yeah.
It is?
Yep.
Oh, you're right. I haven't spoken with Lincoln or Liberty. They weren't the issues. So,
Okay,
and by that time, First Aid
We're not sure.
solves that.
Okay.
So we got two that I haven't spoken with because they weren't issues.
So we revisit for 2021, so I'll just change this to, we'll revisit for 2021, but for this year, they're open to the adaptations of amendments of things mentioned, parking,
Yes.
towing off a door, and a special potentially over at Eagle. Okay, and we'll revisit conversations for 2021.
Mayor, maybe we could get, Chief Hafner or Captain Torres and, have them give us suggestions on parking.
Well, it's really Board of Elections, so Robin will probably come here and I'll certify and I'll try and make it in the day that Tom is here too, and we'll bring over a police officer as well.
I touch base with that police commissioner also to deal with the parking issue, to appease the Board of.
Well, we'll see what they request and then we'll put it back to ratify it.
Okay.
Okay, and anyone on the dais not okay with moving forward that way? Or me communicating back to the Board of Elections?
My only point is, for 2021, I do, so they probably just need to make sure that we have locations for polling for 2021.
I understand, but they need an answer
No,
right
I know,
away.
I know.
I said we will revisit
After
about,
election, yeah.
not after election, just get them an answer on this so we can certify this year. So we could begin the conversations immediately after.
Yeah,
But we
okay.
can definitely, we want to get them an answer for this year's polling.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Attorney's report?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion open to the public, less than 5 minutes per person,
Motion.
please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. President?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. On the topic of 75 Manchester, the petition for unfit building determination, has there been any update on that issue?
There's not been an update, there has been communication, unfortunately, some of the people need to communicate were out sick, and there were some other situations that arose. We were actually hoping to have a special meeting about that topic tonight, but that did not materialize, so, there were multiple hats in the fire since our last council meeting, and
mean, ultimately, the question I'm asking is, has it been determined whether they're fit or unfit by the code enforcement officer? And, if not, what's going on?
I do not have any further commentary from the code enforcement officer. What I needed to do first was clarify the difference of why some of it was falling under property maintenance and why some of it was falling under code enforcement for different reasons, right? So I did look into the background of that, and you fell under the code enforcer back when the code enforcer was the same person as the construction official. But previously, throughout the year, last year, it was property maintenance person that was over there, being sent over there to address the concerns. So I initially wanted to clarify all of that, but it wasn't until Thursday evening when I realized we weren't having a special meeting tonight, that I started looking into it further, because I thought we were going to have different answers for you.
Mayor, did you find out whether or not there were, did you find out how many times they were fined by property maintenance during that research?
I had asked Mr. Gallo for that information. I don't have it at my fingertips right now, and I believe there were additional since I last requested that information, but I can get that to you. As well as the other thing I would need on that piece, I believe Trevor Engineer has, and that is what the contamination cleanup to the borough cost would be, and if we were gonna, be able to incur that expense. Because as you know, with the scattered site redevelopment plan, we had 130 properties on that list, and we're down to the hardcore ones, right? 75 Manchester is one of them, the gas station on Broad Street is one of them, Aero Marine is one of them, and they all have significant cleanup efforts, which is why we weren't able to easily take them off the list like we were some of the other ones, or put as much pressure on them. But we also have to be careful that we don't incur extreme expense to the borough, depending on what the hazards are on those locations.
Trevor did a study?
I'm
I
sorry.
think he has the information about potentially what might, Trevor didn't do the study, but I think he might have the information as far as the information of what needs to be cleaned up on that location.
Did you say that the borough is incurring costs of
I
cleanup?
said we do not want to incur the costs.
Okay,
If I said incur, I
No.
clearly said did not, I meant
No, I don't,
did not.
why would the borough incur the costs?
If we had to have, he's asking for the building to be taken down. Ultimately, that would be the goal, correct?
Yes, ultimately, but
Correct.
what I'm taking issue with now is that there's a process, there's a statute in place that allows residents to make a petition to have it be determined whether it's fit or unfit. And by everything I can tell, as nobody's given me an answer, not just the council, but I've asked directly the code enforcement officer, who's responsible to do this, whether or not he made that determination. I've received no answer. And maybe it's not determined that it's unfit, but that needs to be done.
Something from?
Well, we had, we
Can I
did
get a
have,
timeline?
we had the code enforcer did give you a summation back, right? With, I believe you questioned his answers.
He replied, but
Correct.
did not address the petition.
Correct, but I'm just saying though, so there was an answer from the code enforcer first, because they're asking me for a timeline, so I'm kind of
Okay.
speaking to both of you right now. So, Mr. Kelsey had asked for the code enforcer to take a look at the building, as well as our engineer. Who also submitted a report and said that it was not in imminent danger to be taken down. So, then you asked for follow-up for the petition from the residents which were submitted, correct? About the code enforcement policy. Obviously, that was at the end of November, and things have been a little, unsettled. So, further follow-up has not taken place, and then we were going to have a different conversation this evening in our special meeting. So, that is now gonna be on a different evening. So, we do not have further commentary from the code enforcer at this point.
So if I can just get back up a little bit with that, with regards to the timeline. The conversation is about making the owner take down the property, take down the structures, correct, Andrew?
I'm trying to work on the first step. which is
Well,
to make a
just-
determination.
if you
That's,
don't- I'm with you 100% here.
that's what I'm pushing about here.
But I just wanna
Just to
know,
make the
I
first
just
step.
want you to answer, did you expect us, you didn't expect us to do
I-
it, right? The
There's
borough?
many options, and I haven't said anything about who should do what. I mean, ultimately, it's best if the owner takes it down.
Right, okay,
But the
so,
statute says we can petition the code enforcement officer to make a determination whether they're fit or unfit. We made that petition. I have yet to hear a determination, and it's been over 2 months.
my impression was, maybe Matt's,
I don't know, are you referencing your November
Yeah, it was like November something.
21st, 19 to Mr. Vecchio?
Yes.
Okay, and then I understand that Mr. Vecchio responded, didn't he?
He did not say anything about whether he determined the building to be fit or unfit. It was
But-
largely,
He just
On a
referenced the
different topic.
ordinances that were,
I have the letter here.
he referenced the engineer's report.
Well, actually,
right?
Tom, you got
That's
the
a
letter.
letter.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's self-explanatory. It says, "Dear Mr. Andrew Kelsey, please be advised that I am in receipt of your letter dated November 21st, 2019. After reading your letter, I requested a signed copy of the draft report you referenced, which was done by CME Associates and have received same on December 3rd, 2019. This office has researched all complaints filed with this office over the last 12 months, finding only one complaint regarding the broken window facing Manchester Avenue, which has since been boarded up. We could find no complaints of debris falling into yards, as your letter stated, directed to this office during this time. An inspection of this property was performed and found the property is secure and all access doors are locked. The main structure building, one is missing a vacant red clay card and will be replaced this week. The site was found to be clean with no visible debris or garbage. As you are aware, the property is under contract for sale and possible redevelopment. We look forward to working with the present and prospective owner in which either direction they plan on going. This property, as you are aware, is in a limited industrial zone, which can be rehabilitated for such uses. No certificates of occupancy can be obtained for any use without permitted improvements being obtained."
yeah, there's no determination there, and that largely has nothing to do with what I was petitioning for.
Then what were you asking for? Because I thought he answered.
No, he didn't answer. He did not say it was fit or unfit
Well,
for occupation.
for human habitation, which is that nobody's staying there, it's not a residence.
It doesn't matter, it applies to all buildings.
No, for human habitation or human
No.
habitation.
Absolutely not.
I'm reading the statute.
Yeah, the statute says.
Right, human habitation or.
When I go home, I'll point it out to you and I'll send it to you, but it's more than just human it's more than just dwellings, it's all buildings.
For human habitation.
Yeah, for people to be in. I'll have to look at it and read it myself, but it applies to all buildings, because it says all buildings. It's not just dwellings.
What are you actually looking at so we can get a handle on this? 'Cause I'm kind of flustered, I'm not sure.
He references, he references Borough Code and which I think follows the state statute regarding demolition.
You went
He
for
cited-
demolition.
In my email to you, I included a copy of all the letters I sent and all the information in those letters. So if you read that, you'll be able to read it. I included a copy of the statutes and the borough ordinance.
I mean, we are hoping this person buys a property,
I understand what you're hoping
and
for.
tears it down. I mean, the township doesn't have the money to tear the building down. And once we tear the building down, then we're responsible for the contamination. And I don't
The
think we wanna
borough is
go-
obligated to make a determination whether it's fit or unfit, based on our petition.
Fit or unfit for what?
But that goes to the issuance of a CO by no one residing.
No, that's not
Those
true.
would be a determination.
No, this has to do with, not a CO, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't have this argument.
Because it's a big building that no one's there in, unless it's a danger to people or surrounding areas, which it appears based on the letter that Mr. Henshaw read, that it's not. I don't know what the basis would be to.
There's a guidelines in the administrative code for making that determination, so.
Yeah, but if we say it's unfit, then they want us to tear it down, and then we're in problem with the pollution on the ground. So we don't wanna go that way. I'm being honest.
I'm asking just because,
I know.
as a legal matter, if no one's living there, a declaration of habitability doesn't give us a basis to compel them to take the building down. It just prevents them from.
That's not how I read it, I'll reread it in, for what I believe, and, you know, I guess maybe I'm wrong. But we petitioned, and from what I understand, it applies to all buildings, not just dwellings.
That's not well, the issue is not what buildings it applies to. It applies to what the relief or what the municipality is empowered to do as far as whether to compel, just because in a hypothetical that there would be a person, but there's not a person living there, you know what I'm saying? So hypothetically, let's say something happens to someone's home, floods or whatever, and it's not happening. We don't have to force them to take down, we can't force them to take down the building. Oh, we can prevent them from renting it.
The building's not just vacant, it's falling
No, I
apart.
understand.
There's large holes in the building.
I understand your concern, but.
It's not just a building unoccupied.
But we don't have, if we had a report that said the building is on the verge of collapsing, there's dangers for people, passerbyers and neighbors, that would be something different. Then we can say that, but.
It's been reported that parts of the roof fly off in windstorms.
That's fine, but we don't have that, that hasn't been, everything that we.
That's what my petition is for the code enforcement officer to go there and look at the building and make a determination.
And you made those specific petitions to them saying that these are the specific things, these are the specific complaints?
No, the
Because that's
petition
kind
is
of
to
contrary
have,
to what.
the petition is to have the code enforcement officer go there, make the inspection to determine
Determine what?
if it's fit or unfit for new habitation.
That's not the proper analysis is my point. The proper analysis is whether the structure as is poses a danger to the surrounding areas, not to some hypothetical person that doesn't exist that's living there, because no one's living there. So the question is it a danger to this neighboring community? And based on what I'm hearing, if you think that they're wrong, that's different. You can say you're wrong and whatnot, but you can't say that we have to go and make a determination about habitability if no one's living there. That's the difference.
So,
I don't have it in front of me, so I
And
can't
that's
point out
fine.
what I read and what I
But,
think
I
that's
mean,
so.
I think in this summation though, because of the logistics of things that we've undergone since the middle of December when a lot of this was unfolding, hopefully we have more communication there.
Okay, I'll go back and reread it and I'll share with everybody and we can forward it on for his comment or not, so.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. A few things. First question is, what's the latest on the Complete Streets program?
I believe we are waiting for the engineer report to come back on that, so that we can appoint somebody for the next step, correct?
For the MPP?
No, Complete Street.
Which one?
Complete Street. Turning Broad Street into Complete Street.
Oh, the current.
NJTPP, New Jersey Transit, it's
I'm
not
talking about
TAP.
Complete Streets for the whole borough, Key Point.
Oh, it was never for the whole borough, it was only for Broad Street, and Main Street.
Are you talking about the Complete Streets Committee?
The initiative that was started for the borough, Key
Yeah.
Point and stuff.
Grant.
You know, we're gonna have
That's
more
two
meetings
separate
on
things,
this
right?
I
and
think
stuff.
there are two separate things, there's the MPP grant, and then there's
No.
the
No,
Complete
not
Streets.
NCP.
Or whatever, there's the grant, and then there's the Complete Streets.
Correct, but we applied for the grant to conduct the Complete Street.
There's
Not
a
the,
Complete
and
Streets
not the
grant.
TAP grant for First Street and Broadway.
Right.
There's actually 3 different projects.
Okay, are we gonna have any more meetings on this? This is the public and stuff?
Will we have the next step in phase? Yes.
All right. Okay, one other thing. As far as the search for a permanent borough administrator, how's that coming?
The ad was placed on the most popular municipal search site, which is League of Municipalities, and that was posted in the middle of last week. And the person conducting that search reported today that they have received several applications since that posting.
Now, y'all still doing a consulting firm that's doing this research and stuff?
Yeah.
And in other words, the taxpayers at Key Point are paying for this consulting firm.
Correct.
No offense to anyone, but past borough councils didn't rely on a consulting firm to do a Complete Streets initiative and stuff like that.
And past Borough Hall staff was at a complete
They
staff.
did your job.
Right. No, they have staffing upstairs, and we're shorthanded on staffing upstairs right now.
All right, and, let's see, on the next question here, I know I've asked this before, what's the latest on the Governor Murphy Town Hall coming to Keyport?
Have not had any further commentary on that, but I have had communication with the freeholders, and, there should be a presentation from them coming forward soon.
Okay, because citizens of Keyport are entitled to hear from their governor and stuff like that, and, you know, he's done town halls everywhere else, just about everywhere else in the state of New Jersey, he can certainly come here to Keyport. And one last thing, as far as, the deputy clerk Michelle Clark goes, when are y'all gonna make her, when are y'all gonna remove the title deputy
It's a
from her?
personnel issue, I'm sorry, we can't discuss that further at this point.
Because she's done a terrific job.
He absolutely is doing a great job, I agree.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Wally, Happy New Year.
George Wallen, 54 2nd Street. I got 5 items. I'll ask each one individually. The dumpsters with the enclosures, where are we at with that?
Back in December, I believe you and I sent photos or information at the same time, perhaps the same locations, and I was told that summonses were issued, not just notice of violation, but I followed up with property maintenance to get a better answer on that.
All right, if you would, if you get back to me on that. Where are we at with Davis Locksmith up on the highway?
The same thing, that's property maintenance. I asked for an inquiry on that on January 2nd, and I have to follow up on that again.
Okay. The lot by Apollo's that the borough took over, there's still a camper, there's still,
So,
items that belong to the old tenant there. Do we own them now?
it's a great question. It has been on my radar. I have not looked thoroughly into that, but I can do that.
Okay. The parking lot over on Second Street in between, Atlantic and Church, they've been using it for a stage site for all the work that's going on in town. Are they gonna redo the sidewalks back there and curbs and everything?
So
That
the-
just stands right now that it's really, really wrecked.
I agree. I've had communication with, well, it was never in great condition to begin with. That was part of the
That's
problem.
not
That
the
was a
issue.
great, no, I understand, I'm just saying for the record. It definitely is in better condition than how they started using it. And that was never approved for the use of what they were using it for. They were spoken to several times. And then we got a little more firm with them on January 3rd, and we haven't seen any more dumping since then. But that lot was actually part of one of the paving projects to be done, so I have to follow up and find out which phase that was in.
So they used a lot without borough authorization?
And that's my understanding.
With a
For
summons?
dumping, I believe that they were there
Well,
for
were they
stage.
summons?
I do not know, I was not the one handling it at that time.
You're the mayor.
I did not receive the communication forward.
All right, so let's look into that. Maybe we can
Sure.
get some money, get something fixed.
Okay.
All right, light pole down on the Ring Road.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
There's a light pole that has been wiped out on the Ring Road for like maybe 5 months now.
An American Legion job behind, the laundromat?
Yep.
I agree. I have multiple requests in also asking, why that hadn't been replaced, but I will follow up on that again.
Multiple requests?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come forward? Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane, there's actually 2 ordinances. One is for a building that's structurally unsound, and that's what the engineer's report addressed relative to 75 Manchester. There's a second ordinance having to do with an unfit building. Mr. Walling just mentioned one unfit building, which is the one on Route 35 by the
Smith.
Stop and Shop. There's no roof on that building. The windows are all missing.
I agree.
And the ordinance says that the borough can force the owner, my perception, to either fix it or demolish it. And this has been going on for months and months.
I'm not in
So
denial of that.
has the inspector inspected that building to determine whether it's a fit building, per the state code?
What's the address again, Shirley?
It's on Route 35, right where the Stop and Shop is.
So the old Davis locksmith, we've been inquiring with our property maintenance person
There's-
multiple times.
The
over.
roof is off,
The windows are all broken.
The windows
It's
are all
an eyesore
broken.
coming into town.
and I believe our ordinance would allow us to take action. Same thing I would think is true for 75 Manchester. If you look at the aerial pictures of 75 Manchester, the roof is off. Where did that roof go?
As I pointed out earlier in the commentary section before, as you're aware, Mr. Lane, Mr. Good, as well as several other members of the dais and the public had a scattered site redevelopment plan. I do believe that there should be some acknowledgement made that we have removed over 100 of those properties into habitable. The ones that are left are remaining in troublesome. I'm not denying that. And we are hopefully making stronger efforts to improve those conditions.
Yes, we're focusing on the worst apples in the barrel. We did a great job on the homes around town. That's not what we're talking about.
I understand, I'm just, we got 333 First Street down, that was another one, so, there's other properties I think we can all sit up here and identify, but there's legal matters that sometimes are tied up into it also. So, I will definitely see if we can apply some more enforcement, but that does not mean that these questions have not been asked by the governing body to some of the same locations that have been mentioned this evening. Not just by yourself, but by others.
So I was one of the signers of this petition
Okay.
for enforcement. So looking for a response.
Okay.
Let's determine whether it's fit or unfit. Second, under unfinished business, one of my experiences in business, if you're really gonna make things happen, you set a target date for things to be done by, and you identify somebody to have oversight, to watch it, to make sure we're gonna meet the target date. And I'll repeat myself, target date for the flood damage prevention orders, target date for the public sessions on the pedestrian safety improvement program, target date for NPP meeting. And I ask you to, when you put the unfinished business items together, list them with a target date and who's responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward?
It's Matt Burke, the administrator.
Oh,
That's the building. Oh, okay, thank you.
Make a motion to close public?
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nothing in close?
So the motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.